Anybody here from the public like to speak to this agenda item?
Is this recommended by, is this a family request or what?
This is the property owner's request. Property owner's request.
Who owns it? Is it the same people still own it today?
No.
Who owns it now?
They sold it 4 or 5 years.
Lucas Ingraham owns it.
I'm sorry?
Lucas Ingraham owns it.
Ingram, that's the same guy, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm David Hamby with BG Consultants representing the applicant. As Russ mentioned, it was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission. They're just trying to zone it to R1B. No immediate plans on what will happen after that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any utilities out there with us or not?
They are on city water and electric.
There's no sewer out there right now.
So that's his grant.
Really, I guess I see this as just making the use with our ordinance on what they're doing already. Because this is already going on, but they don't have any zoning attached to it.
You see it as well?
They're just trying to get in line with our laws because they're already using it as a single family residence,
Yes,
but there's no zoning
yes.
tied to it, so they're just trying to tie it to the zoning.
Okay.
That's part of what the requirement is once we annex anyway. This is the process that they have to do.
They have to.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to this agenda item? Council discussion?
This is where College Street, after it crosses 1600,
Yes.
that dead end.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's about 7, 8 acres somewhere.
And there's one house down in the middle.
How many acres?
Yeah.
I think it's like 7 or 8, maybe 10 or 15. I can't remember.
17.
14
14 acres.
plus or minus.
Yeah. So they annexed in a year or 2
I
ago.
remember when they annexed it.
And so typically, like when we do the development, they'll annex and rezone at the same time. They didn't put their rezone application in, so that's what we're trying to do is catch up to our zoning requirements. It's kind of something
In other words, that.
kind of have to do.
Right.
Where do you access that?
Off college. Turns in Ridge right
Long
away.
drive.
College Street runs right
That's
into.
Then go, that basically is a drive.
Yeah, in the college.
Yeah, just.
No, I didn't know you access from the diagonal road on the railroad tracks, or I never really was right with you.
Remember discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
It's first reading.
It is, but yes,
We're doing
I don't
it.
see
Since we
the,
didn't have.
I don't see the reasoning of waiting to do a second reading.
Other than it's a policy.
That's arguable.
Okay.
I just don't, there's
Yeah,
no-
since
there's
nobody-
no risk.
Nobody seemed to be interested anyway. It really affects just.
All right, how are we moving forward with that? Like, so
Right.
is it when somebody
Right.
has an issue with it, then we have a second reading, or we just, why do we even do this? Why do we even have that policy? I don't remember why.
It's a council discretion.
I think it's more practice. I don't know if there's a written policy.
I think it's probably written policy.
Is there?
I think it's council discretion, isn't it?
Yeah, but there actually is, it is a policy though, there is a written policy. But now the mayor's right, it's at your discretion, you can do 2 readings, you don't
I mean,
have.
we have another ordinance coming up that we have to pass.
Right.
So we have a,
So,
so we have an active policy that says we have discretion to use the policy.
Correct.
Why the hell do we have a policy?
Not really.
Well, to do a second vote, yeah.
welcome to the government.
Yeah.
Got a policy to make a policy.
Scott, I'm with you, man. You're trying to follow the
Pick one.
Yeah.
No, I see it.
I can
That is-
I get what you guys are saying.
I can see if there's a legitimate time issue that, for what, no fault of the, petitioners or whatever, back them up in it, that, we would make an exception and do it in 1 reading, but if there's no pressing timeline issue, what's the point of having a second reading? Just do the policy.
So I get that. I'm gonna push back a little bit though.
I expect you to.
That
We've got a precedent because we've done it in other places.
we've done it at other places, but I'm pushing back more of common sense. I mean, I guess to me, what are we waiting? Just to put another agenda item on the next meeting?
No, we're waiting to follow the policy. If we don't like the policy, let's get rid of the policy.
That's where I'm kinda coming from.
Well, I'll
good
take a
with that.
motion to remove the policy.
Well, okay, well, but
But I
let's,
think it's stupid.
let's,
I think
let's,
sometimes the policy makes sense when we need that extra 2 weeks to wait
I
on public
agree.
response, or, you know, if it's the first time we're talking about something in city council that may be controversial, or there may be some opposition, it gives people time to respond.
Amen.
but don't we always have that discretion without a policy? So basically, the policy is a buffer zone to make it less uncomfortable to ask for more time. Is that fair?
I think so. I also think it was a policy that was put into place to make awkward decisions seem more unawkward, to push it off another meeting, to folks to settle down what may be going on at the, I mean, if I'm speaking honestly.
Makes sense.
I think it's more, not everybody may have realized this thing was up for pass, or even, it was even on the agenda, you know, and so, I get it, that's their responsibility, but if there's not a lot of harm in waiting, you know, this may be the first time that somebody that may have an issue with it heard
And I would, so I agree with you.
about it. What was our notification policy of
There's
everybody?
there's a notification policy when it comes to zoning ordinances, within so many feet, 100 foot,
200 feet,
200 feet.
or 1,000 feet within, if it butts up to the county.
So this one was 4,000 feet?
No, so it went out 200 feet into the city, and
Okay.
then 1,000 feet out
Okay.
to the county,
Okay.
is how it works.
So to me, when it comes to zoning, I knew that we had, there's a notification requirement to neighbors. So all the affected people have been notified, plus you've already had planning commission, which is why I specifically asked if anybody showed up at planning commission to contest this. So there's two, and then now we're hearing it at ordinance. It doesn't matter, I mean, I just think it's silly sometimes that we push things off for 2 readings. But other things we do first reading, sometimes we have to.
That was my
Right.
point. The only reason we should do first reading is if we have to. We really never should get in a position to have to.
I mean, things fall through the cracks, but
Phil,
I know there's some-
I'm okay, let's just get rid of the policy.
So now,
I agree.
to get involved.
I think,
agree.
I
If you
think,
have a policy,
When it-
follow it. If you don't like it.
Not for this particular thing,
Change it.
but there's times when
I personally feel that we should get rid of the policy, because if something's controversial, and we have people in here, then we can say, hey, okay, obviously there's people that still have questions. Let's allow those questions to be answered over the next 2 weeks and have a second reading.
We do that for non-ordinances as well. I mean, yeah. How long have we been doing that for? Well, when did the policy come about? I'm trying to get
It was before me,
Okay.
but it's always been treated as discretionary. And there's been many times it hasn't been followed, there's been many times that it has been followed. It just feels like it's
Right.
somebody's personal feelings towards an issue.
But if you break the policy, there's no teeth to it.
No.
Okay.
doesn't really make the policy, that does it?
The only value I can see it adding is that it's something to point to when somebody does have an issue and they do maybe perhaps want to buy more time because it was felt as sprung upon.
I get it, but I also believe that if they come into this meeting and say that, then the council's gonna have enough respect for that person to push it.
Well,
They have the ability to, doesn't mean they will.
well, neither does an
But
active
it's the
policy
same-
though.
It's the same thing now.
You know,
Why are we pushing it so hard?
Push it once over.
Sounds like you wanna bring it in tonight.
Because it's silly. What, we're not gonna rezone it?
Eventually, probably. But why
Okay,
is
so
it-
we're gonna talk about it again and then rezone.
We won't have to talk about it again. If you pass it tonight, the next time it comes up, it's
Well, we can't vote on it tonight if we go by the policy that is clouded in discretion.
Sounds like we do whatever we want. I'm okay with.
I'm just pushing back because I saw the opportunity to have that discussion.
That's why I'm
Since Corey brought it up.
just kind of trying to maybe revisit why it seems like we always run into this issue and kind of don't know really where to go with it. And sometimes I understand things are urgent, and sometimes I understand that things seem sprung upon, and I just want to find, if it doesn't have any teeth, then what are we doing with it? I mean, you say, okay, if one council member has an issue with it, then I do think we all have the mutual respect that, we'll wait a week or two council meeting, but even then, even they say, hey, I have an issue with this, and I'm pointing to this policy right now, you can still bulldoze it, it sounds like.
You can.
Okay.
And we have.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting to.
So, the second motion, we can get rid of the policy. We won't have this conversation again.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Probably.
It wouldn't be a violation of the policy.
Well, we remove the policy and then you vote on it, you're not violating any policy.
That's right.
That's right. What is the policy called?
Two reading policy.
Also, the governs the requirement, the policy that governs the requirement to have two separate readings for an ordinance.
That's your discretion.
Okay. I motion that we remove the policy, suggesting that we have two readings of an ordinance.
It's been moved.
But before we vote, is it legal to do that?
To modify a policy,
To not have two readings of a policy that you're either creating or modifying? Just wanna make sure we're not getting outside of state statute.
there's no state statute that requires you to have a
Okay.
second reading. You have your own policy in place, but not a state statute.
Well, it's in limbo. I just made a motion.
And there was a second.
Okay.
Well, it's
Sorry.
I'll officially second it.
It's been moved to second to remove the policy to require a second reading on ordinances. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1. Okay, back to the agenda item of zoning ordinance 1488.
Now that we don't have that policy in the way, I move to approve ordinance number 1488.
The policy you just passed is only for this one time, is that correct?
No, they removed the policy.
This will be forever?
But you can always, as a council member,
Or
push it to another meeting, make a motion to. have a second. It's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved to second, Jared. Susan?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Zoning ordinance 1489, 916 Grove Street.
All right, this is ordinance 1489. This is for 916 Grove Street. This is for a property rezone. It's currently zoned R-1C, which is single-family residential. The applicant is wanting to have it rezoned to RP-3, which is multifamily residential. Basically, he is wanting to have it zoned as a triplex. This was heard on February 13th at Planning Commission. They voted 4-0 unanimously in favor of the rezone.
Any citizens there
No, I mean, there wasn't
was concerned or opposed?
just people asking questions, more informational stuff. We had one letter submitted from a homeowner, but it was more just, stating their, not necessarily in favor of adding extra vehicles to the neighborhood was their concern.
This property, so it's going from one bedroom to,
So original,
Used to be R3.
so
When I was in college, there were 3 different apartments.
So Corey is correct. So there was 3 different apartments, and there was 3 different electrical meters, 3 different gas meters. it was never zoned correctly, and it just kind of went under the radar. And then the property sat for a period of like 9 years. It went dormant. So at that point, its grandfather statute, part of that went by the wayside. And then this individual purchased it and is wanting to use it as a triplex. So he's just going through the motions to make it.
Currently has multiple stalls on was it Jersey?
No, so it'd be on Grove Street. So basically he, so according to our zoning and codes, he would need 7 parking spots, because he has 7 bedrooms. So one per bedroom. He would have 2 on the front, in that driveway. You can't count anything that's on the street as a parking spot. So the individual would, on his site plan, put 5 9x19 solid surface parking spots, because there's access off the back alleyway. So that way he would be in compliance with the zoning and the codes. All right.
Joe, you want to speak to this?
Joe Torkelson, I don't know if I've met a lot of you, but
State your address, for the record.
916 Grove Street. So basically, I purchased this property in December. If you've driven by, you've seen I've done a lot of work to it already, but there is 3 water meters currently, 3 electrical meters, and 3 gas meters already at the property. So I'm just going through the process, hopefully with your support, to get it zoned into a triplex. The building is already set up. I'm sure Stu will get up here and speak, but I'm a general contractor in town, so I pull permits, going through all the legality steps of getting it as code ready as we can. It is a remodel project, so any remodel is going to have some hiccups that we can't be exactly uniform to the code, but we are doing everything possible that we can to get it safe, fire code, and up, into the right zoning for this property. I guess, do you have any questions for me about the property? Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to this agenda item? None? Council discussion?
Glad to be out adding some different kind of housing.
Yep. So the parking's been figured out, so.
Discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we pass ordinance 1489.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Jared. Susan.
Aye.
Corey. Aye. Scott.
Yes.
Motion passes 4. Next item is the garbage ordinance 1490. Glenn, kick this to you to kind of explain why we're bringing this now.
Right, well, we did go out for bids for solid waste. Ended up staying with their same contract, negotiated that price, whatever, but all these, it's like any other utility in the city, it has to be done by ordinance, part of our city code. So to amend that city code, you have to pass an ordinance that says what you're gonna raise your solid waste, rate to, and also your recycle. So that's the numbers that are plugged into the amendment to the ordinance, or the amendment to the code, if you will. So that's why it's here tonight. So it's, as the mayor was saying earlier, it's important we do it at this meeting and not actually because the new charges are kicking in this month. So that's when all this needs to happen. So sorry about the delay. We didn't realize, earlier that we should have also had an ordinance going along with the contract at the same time. But here we are tonight. That makes sense?
Yes. Anybody from the public like to speak to this agenda item? Council discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
We pass ordinance 1490.
Second.
We moved and seconded. You second it, yeah. You're, Jerry?
What?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Susan? Corey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yep.
Motion passes 4-0. Council committee reports, budget appointment, Scott.
Yes, we did meet since our last meeting, and a couple of things. We were looking at possibly switching insurance brokers. Had a presentation previously from a new broker. I think we talked about this previously. Brokers really are just kind of your liaison between the underwriter, which is EMC for everybody. So, there's really not a cost advantage of them getting us better rates from the insurer. That's more about service and what they provide and those types of things. So, Baldwin City Administrator went out and checked. Got some quotes from the current and the potential new broker, and although the new broker was slightly lower, city administrator's recommendation was to keep our current broker based on the service they provide and the relationships they've built over the years. So,
The current one was lower.
no, the current one is not. Did I get that backwards?
Yeah, they were lower.
Well, yeah, they pay by commission or fee on that, so,
Oh, two different.
yeah, two different methods for paying that.
So technically it's the lowest.
Stand corrected.
You're going to clarify that.
I thought we had that conversation about not switching even though they were, but no, that's fine, good. So we're staying with the current broker. We did talk about, the latest bond rating report. It's in your packet if you'd like to read it in more detail. But just some highlights, I think, for the council and citizens that may be interested. We went out for that bond to finance construction for the community center. And so you got to go get a rating to do that. Rated, assigned as an A long-term rating. I think it's a notch up from an A minus where we were, which means we get a better loan rate, if you will. So they looked at, everything, budget, all that. So that applies to this bond, and so all our other bonds will also fall under that rating as well. The outlook they gave us is stable, which is great, meaning they have confidence in financial stability of what we're doing, our plans around the budget, etc. Outlook, improved budgetary performance and flexibility, growing the property tax base, so that's something they look at. They see that tax base growing, so that's obviously potential revenue for us to pay them back, so that helps us be more attractive. And so, bottom line is, the plan we have to get our reserves back to where they like to see them, and the growth that we're seeing is improving our bond rating, which is all great news. Looked at the electric utility rate plan, just had a conversation around that about what we may have to do, and when to maintain where we need to be in that fund. We're waiting on an updated KMEA report. If you remember, they were gonna go back, they had old 22 data. They're supposed to go back and refresh for 23. Once they have that data to us, we'll come back and look at it, and the Budget and Finance Committee would come back with a rate recommendation to the council after we see what that looks like. At that time, we're probably also gonna propose, if it gets through the committee, that we reformat the electric utility just like we did the water utility, where we pulled the bond debt payment out of the rate, and just have that as a separate line item like we did with water. So all that's coming, probably the next month or two. That was it. Next meeting, we're gonna have Friday, 7:30, this Friday, 7:30 a.m., second floor City Hall.
We did not meet. We were waiting on a couple of things. We typically do our CDC meetings toward the end of the month, usually the third or fourth Monday, depending on what we agree on as the precedent. I think the more I think about it, I think it was the third. But I'm reading my notes here from the last CDC meeting, and I know that we're waiting on Jason for April 8th to come back with a couple of things. One, I assume that he submitted the concept
Yes,
submittal on
we
the
got
first.
it in.
Okay,
Yep.
so we should have something kind of coming back by the 8th, I think is why he wanted to put it then.
Correct.
So maybe we push the March meeting, since we have them at the end of the month anyway, and we have an early April date that we need to meet. Maybe we push it the next one till then. And I think he's supposed to have some budget numbers for some of the brick concepts that we've had. One for the square between downtown, or in the intersection of downtown. And two, I think for the width of the 4 streets that we have for the first projected phase of the project. So I think we should push to April 8th,
Okay.
and then just have that for our meeting.
Is he coming April 8th?
Yes.
Or is that just when he's supposed to be?
He suggested we meet on the 8th.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll follow up with him on that, you know, kind of making sure of that, and then I'll message when I know about
Public safety suit.
We have not met, so no updates, and our next meeting, I don't have my phone on me, so, but I believe it's the second Tuesday of the month.
12th. I think it's the 12th.
That'd be the 12th. A week from now.
12th from the 14th.
Public Works, Jerry, do you have anything?
Yeah, we met, I don't know whether the rest of you realize it or not, but the water tower, 1,600 runs been drained, and they put in a pressure tank to maintain the pressure. And the city seems to be doing quite well. How far along they are with the cleaning of that tower and painting it inside, disinfecting or everything, I do not know, and also the generators being set. And the off at the shop, they were sent by Brown Super Service, I believe. I'd like to have seen that project done. They used that rotator or rider service to swing all that stuff around inside that building and send that. There was other discussions about, the generator down here, the ages of them, that, how possibly, I think there's one group that's got a deal together where we're gonna be into it, where we could get one if we needed it, was that right?
That's correct, yeah.
If we needed one, we could get it. I think there's several other cities that's involved in that, where we've done it, kind of done it together as a group. I don't know if there's any funding involved in it or not, but that was he said. But that was kind of interesting there. In the process of still working on finding transformers, looking for transformers and such as that. Seemed to be pretty hard to find. With all the damage and destruction that's taking place in the southeast part of the nation, that stuff's tough to do. Our next meeting, I think, is the 15th. 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is it 9 a.m.?
Well, and she would have, I don't take notes, she takes the notes.
14th at 9 a.m.
I'm sorry?
Your next meeting is the 14th at 9
that's right,
a.m.
hers at the club. I didn't realize she wouldn't be here, I'd have got to her copy. She was good enough. Every time we have a meeting, it seems to be a really good, informative meeting.
Good.
And that's, you know, that's what made the notes, I guess, so.
Strategic planning, Scott.
We did not have a meeting, but I did want to just recap, you know, since we didn't live stream the strategic plan workshop, maybe recap what, you know, for the people interested and what came out of that. I thought we had some great conversation around the plan and then kind of go forward, but just very high level, we made some wording changes to the plan that we're going to incorporate, nothing major. And we reached out, so I know Austin reached out to the survey consultant to assist us getting some more details from the citizens in the areas of 4 areas that were the most had the highest dissatisfaction scores in the survey. So the intent there, as you guys know, is to provide the city administrator and department heads guidance on, you know, where the council would like to see recommendations from those department heads on how they might improve these dissatisfaction areas, if you call them. There's still, you know, more satisfaction than dissatisfaction, but if you look at the ones that rated the lowest, these were rated, and they included overall maintenance of the city streets and sidewalks, overall quality of electric utility services, overall enforcement of local codes and ordinances, and overall effectiveness of communication by the city. So we're going to see if our survey consultant can help us find out more details around that. You know, people that are dissatisfied with maintenance of streets and sidewalks specifically, you know, where, those types of things, just so that we can then be more prescriptive on where we would spend budget dollars in 25 to go impact that. You know, same thing for electric utility services. Fairly, I think we all think we understand what that looks like, you know. 100% uptime on power is the goal, right? Electricity never have to go down. We established a baseline. We'll be publishing that out as part of the strategic plan, as we talked about, and then just getting some ideas from Jeff and that department about what could we do if we wanted to get to 100% uptime as the goal. What's the next step? What's it cost? Then as a council, you know, we decide whether that's something that we want to do above other things that they're going to have on our list. So that's what came out of that. I think that's what we intended the strategic plan to do, is to drive our budget expenditures to try to keep improving. So the good news is overwhelmingly high approval on pretty much everything, and these were just the lowest of the everything that we had. So, we don't have a meeting set up. We're waiting for someone to come back with a proposal around how we can get further information on those areas so we can actually go do something prescriptive when we bring it back to the council and say, here's what it is.
We did talk about another water connection, and the idea that this water line needs to be looked into and replaced. It's coming down for $6. I did find out actually that I was worried about the water, you know, broke underneath the water so, you know, I guess that's been taken care of. It goes down past the water now, for the new water treatment plant is there. But that was another thing that we kind of discussed a little bit. There was no answer or being able to tell you what the answer would be to do that. And there's like probably, as you know, mentioned before, that we're going to have to go water to the east. It seems to me like it's a question about who we're going to get the water from the east. I know where there is one connection that we might have to do, but I haven't talked to the manager of that district, and he said he'd be willing to visit with us about it. Anyway you go, coming from that direction, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, and I've asked Rob, on the water line going to Lawrence, I've asked Rob to get us a budgetary number on a per mile replacement, so that way we have something to work with.
You still understand that's only one service line, whether it be new or whether it be old. If they don't put it together right, it can come apart pretty easily in some of these areas where it goes up and down the hill.
Yeah.
You can still do that water if it didn't have the other side.
How far are we responsible for that line?
All the way up to just south of the Lawrence.
Everywhere.
South of the Wakarusa, I think, is where
I'm sorry?
our pump is south of Wakarusa,
Yes,
south
yes.
of the Wakarusa.
Yes.
I think we're,
South of Milwaukee, right?
That's correct, yeah.
It's south of the new sewer system that the city put in.
We own all the repair and maintenance and replacement costs
Yeah.
solely.
But everything up to that point, brand new,
up to the pump house.
not to the pump house.
From the north.
Yes. All our sites.
I don't know how old is that?
That line is at least 50 years old now. It's an old, it's not even a plastic pipe. It's an old metal type of
It's
pipe,
ductile iron,
ductile iron type.
just about like the one that was up here with bad on 6th Street, up there in the filling station.
So we've been having maintenance issues yet, or
Well,
are we repairing leaks, or?
Yeah, I mean, those things will always leak.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time though, until it's gotta be. I mean,
Yeah.
those things aren't made, unlike the plastic, as far as we know, will last forever.
yeah,
That type of system will not.
The original, if I can explain this properly. 50 years ago, when they put in a double iron pipe, they used what they call oakum and masking, and they put the pipe together, and then they put that stuff in, and they pound it in. So it's not like a rubber gasket that you get now that's fixed together or that is welded together. That was the way that I understand it, that originally, that kind of stuff was put together. In fact, in 1963, I was a plumber's apprentice, and that's the way we put plumbing together at that time. Now they just put together with rubber gaskets, even if you use double iron pipe, there's rubber gaskets that go in to hold it together, so it stays much better. When this line broke up here on 6th Street, and I first discovered it, I talked to one of the guys about it that works for the city, and I said, how much space, how wide was that pipe, and how much? I have seen some of that pipe that is, when you open it up and look at it, it is completely, or not completely, but almost completely closed up with rust and stuff, and corrosion is coming into the pipe. Well, for 50 years, you know, you can have quite a bit. But they said when they did that one up there, that they just put what you call a Band-Aid on it, which is a clamp that goes around the pipe, and you screw it together, so they didn't get to see the inside of the pipe. But
So, and that's a good idea to understand, I mean, with the reserve fund in the water utility, any repair would be some kind of a bond out to do. Is that kind of our plan, is the way to tell?
I don't know,
Well-
I don't think you want your reserve to be that high, honestly.
No, I mean,
I didn't
I don't know that you replace it all at once, but what do you have there to fix
When I thought,
section?
when we talked about the reserve in the water budget, or in the water fund, I always assumed that the exposure was only within city limits. I didn't know that we were responsible for the county easement all the way to Lawrence.
When something like that
Yeah,
happens, you know, in a line, when the line breaks like that, it creates a shock through the whole system. Because all of a sudden, all your pressure just disappears. And then when you get it repaired, put it back together and you start pressuring it back up again, you can have movement that was caused by the original shock when it first came loose. So, you know, we don't want that to happen.
So I asked Rob to go get that number
Yeah.
because, if we do something from the east, we're gonna have to bond it. And I said, well, if we're gonna do a bond for that, let's do a little bond and at least replace some and start the process. So that's kind of why, before we had a work session on
You know where
all
our
of
pump,
that.
Yeah.
you know where our pumping station's at, just on the, off the blacktop, west of, Dillon, on that gravel road on it. It would be 1600 road. We have a pumping station on 1600 road. If we could fix it from here to there, one time, that would be a good start. That coming up from there, that is a ductile, is it not? Is it not?
That's part, yeah, I believe it is.
From that pumping station up to the tower. So if you could figure out how to do it in sections.
Yeah. So,
So how many days we have available in town? For the city?
what did Rob
Time
say
of year,
last time we
obviously,
had
longer.
to look at this? I think it was 2 weeks, wasn't it?
Well, under normal
5
usage,
years.
yeah, with the 2 towers, yeah,
Yeah.
we could go that long.
We had to worry about that one time, I remember,
Correct, yeah.
I think it was a storm.
Recently, yeah.
and we lost power, so I asked
Right.
what the level was.
Yeah, it was during that tornado that came and ripped through there. We lost power to the tower, so.
So 2 full water towers buys you 2 weeks. Really?
Under normal usage, yeah, about that.
With water lines and-
When you recognize you're going to have a storm like that, your operators should be filling the towers, because they know that can happen, and if you lose your electricity, you wouldn't be.
They do, Rob stays on that pretty good. Making sure
Yeah,
those are
I'm
at least
sure they
3
do.
quarters, I think.
They're good water people.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely something to talk about, you know, budget planning, what does it look like? Is it a bond? When? How much? Okay.
Alright, city administrator, any more comments?
Well, speaking of projects going on, we did get the concept grant in for the brick streets. the KDOT. Also got the raise grant in on time. So yeah, I got a couple days early, didn't want to wait. That's for the entire trail. You'll notice we do have sidewalk projects going on right now, 11th Street, third on High Street. So there's about 4 or 5 different areas in that gap project that'll be filled in here. So it's all happening earlier because we're having 80-degree weather in February and in March. So contractors get out there and just getting it done. And doesn't seem to be any cold weather on the horizon. So they're smart for getting out there and getting it done right now. Community Center is doing great also. If you get a chance, if you want to go in there, let us know. You need to see it going right now. They're also starting on the parking on the west side of the building. Actually, they started I think late last week. So that project's moving forward inside and out right now. And it looks great. They're doing a great job on that. So also we do have a wage and salary study out there right now. That'll probably take about 3 months to get that completed. Everybody and their cousin right now is doing wage and salary studies for obvious reasons. So
Where'd that dirt go?
which dirt?
They took away from up there at the bar building.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is.
That's our dirt in it. Does it go to utility for our use?
Yeah, we have a storage there. I can check, see what
Is
they
it-
do
is that
with
what
it. Yeah, that's normally what happens with it.
I don't know, sometimes those projects, they bid it out to keep the dirt too. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how they bid the project, whether they kept it or not. Find out.
We get 19 stalls out of that, west of the building, on High, right?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
It looks like more.
Yeah, I think,
But I know that he put cars in there, it doesn't look like it anymore. It seems like, God, that's a lot of parking.
Looking good, I think they're planning on starting sheet rock here in the next 2 weeks.
Sheetrock and plaster.
Plaster's about done.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
where do you find a plaster crew? With the laugh on there, all shippo.
I think it's direct.
Really?
Alright. Nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Maybe second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion passes, we're adjourned.
Yes.
yeah, that's true.
We expect that to be,
We'll see.
There's a